Lots of new games, lots of stuff to talk about. The month of June is right around the corner indeed, but before we hit that spot, there's a good time to be had with this batch. And I'm going to talk about over 20 new single-player games you can play offline, released in May for your Android and iOS. First things first, a rather quick mention over here for those of you still interested. There is a playable beta testing on iOS and TapTap for mainly Apple phones, but also coming to Androids soon, apparently no longer than a week from now. Figment 2 Creed Valley finally made it over to mobiles after years of its Switch version release. It's not a free game, it'll be a $7 piece eventually, it'll support co-op play, slightly different to its predecessor, way more engaging. It's quite fine on mobiles as well. That being said, Zombie Siege is a 1 GB big, brand new zombie survival third-person shooter. It's actually coming from the same developers of Pixel Zombie Hero. Practically speaking, these developers actually never made a bad game, and so is the case with this one. Not only the game has a story campaign, but it's entirely playable offline and offers a good arsenal of weapons and enemies to keep you engaged for weeks. You can grow, unlock, and enjoy different modes along the way. While it's still hot, there's another shooting game we recently discovered that didn't disappoint one bit. Firstly, I'd like to mention this Hidden Gem is another new work of the super team who made the FPS Online Shrug. Their new attempt over here is both an online and offline game in nature, featuring over 20 weapons to engage in combat against real players and AI. There's 4 varied modes to play, lots of maps, and lots of maps for a little bit of a mood shift. Sitting on the Google Play Store since a few days ago, Dokkan Story, previously released on PCs a week ago, is now sitting on mobiles for free. If I'm not wrong, in the first hour, however. I gotta say, it's not a bad game. Try the mobile version of it, it's just as smooth and equally realistic. It's a horror adventure game where you have to save and collect rubber ducks from this evil, fiery, big black duck. Anyway, it's about 2 GB in total. Rated a literal 5 out of 5, over 1,000 downloads in less than a day. Previously a PC game, now sitting on both the Google and the App Store after 3 days of its initial Steam page. This is in fact a free-to-play, surreal point-and-click narrative adventure that I personally recommend more than anything today if you like novels. The second best thing about this free game is the music and the atmosphere, additionally the voice acting. Give it a 20 out of 10. It's entirely offline. Speaking of gems, plural. First of the bunch, Katana Zero got a mobile release earlier this morning, sitting on both the Google and the App Store via the Netflix membership for free, and it's already downloaded over 50,000 times. That's right, I would go the extra mile to call this the #1 pixel art action platformer of all time, if not this year, that we had a blast with on the go. No bugs, controller support plays offline, and a brutal gameplay on top of an unreal story.
And they're super smart.
Coming up behind that, we'd like to give a very honorable mention to another hidden gem of a PC original game, Paper Trail. Now for those of you who missed it, this game's a cozy, family-friendly top-down puzzle adventure, as you can see, sit in this foldable paper world where you play as a young girl who's leaving home for the first time to pursue her studies. Along this emotional journey, you read, solve puzzles, and fold the environment and merging the two sides into one to solve the puzzles. It's not only that, Braid is on mobiles via the Netflix membership since last 2 weeks. It's rated a 4.9 and nearly downloaded 100,000 times. You might ask why, considering the looks of it. Well, Braid is technically one of the most well-received PC games ever made. Now that it's a free game on mobiles, there's no surprise it's that well-received. And for God's sake, the PC version is a whopping $20 package, but it's free on Android. It's a puzzle platform adventure game taking you down a whopping 2 GB of space, and it's offline. Anyway, there is a ton of endless running games out there right now to try, right? The latest in line would be endless car driving. Well, technically it's an old genre which gets picked up once every while, which has been around since the dawn of mobile gaming, but the race running or survival style racing games are a little newer. They have been perfected in formula for years, and this one, so to speak, is not only playable offline, but it has a scale of an open world game and a lot of stages to play through in both third and first person view. Anyway, number 10 we have Slam Jam Dunk. Simply, if you like dunking, probably the perfect game for you to try this week. The interesting part about this game is it don't just go and put you into the court to throw balls into the hole, but you should and can train to raise your stamina and accuracy, etc. It's kind of like the gym training part of Grand Theft Auto games, but all the actions are limited to basketball. We give it a solid 7 out of 10. Maybe not our best recommendation today, but it's a list of new games and we're only counting offline games. The latest in line, so to speak, fighting game with such qualities would be this, Kung Fu Karate. It's a new work of a well-proven developer who've been previously coming out with pretty decent offline games. Unfortunately, this game is right now on Androids only, basically mixing all different martial arts and famous fighting games character. If you are already familiar with Yamworks games, you know you're in for a treat when there's a new game in town. We've got here now Escape Codsworld, which the name doesn't make sense, but it was released a few days ago and it's rated a 5 out of 5 with nearly 50,000 downloads ever since. The company's new work over here is a relaxing puzzle game, so to speak, coming from the team who already made nearly 100 of these, which are all free, and so was the case with this. So, I had the chance to give this one a quick try too. Dark Notes is available on both the Google and the App Store for free, and it's the new work of the famous horror mobile games Paper Bride series. Well, this is another dark fantasy puzzle game, offering a somewhat unique experience, meaning you will play as 2 different protagonists, not just one, and then travel through time and space. Actually, there's an even more challenging nature as you go forward in this game. It's a free one, about 150 megabytes in total. Quick mention over here, I actually believe this is a type of game you should try for yourself instead of watching. So if you've ever played cover fire shooters and actually a little bit of Far Cry action on PCs, or you're basically interested, you're gonna love this game no matter what. Mafia City War is an action FPS crime game offering a range of 40 different weapons and several maps, villains to deal with. I don't know why it's a free game, but it's playable offline and it's available on Androids only. Sitting on both stores, including Steam, with overwhelmingly positive scores. In fact, a 5 out of 5 rating on both the Google and the App Store. Number 15, we have Nerd Survivors. What is Nerd Survivors? It's an action bullet hell roguelike survival pixel art game and quite a bit inspired by the D&D in pace, so to speak, with enough content to probably keep you addicted for months to come. 10 out of 10, highly recommend this game. It has one problem, it's not free, it's about $3 in price. Anyway, if you like free tower defense games, so to speak, you are probably not gonna go any further than this, considering you have already played all Kingdom Rush and Iron Marines. On mobiles, G Center just released King of Defense 3 globally, and since just days ago, it's already downloaded almost 500,000 times on the Play Store. The new game has more emphasis on the story, and with each level, you have to shift strategies, modify and come up with new tactics. It's a free game and it plays offline as well. I highly doubt any of you here is a stranger to 1941 air attack games, but if you were having troubles running it on your Android phone, well, developers made a final release globally playable offline and added new content to it. This is a bullet hell arcade shooter, one of the most well-received games on mobiles, downloaded nearly 100 million times through different versions, now released globally in English. There's new planes, new pilots, and some additional maps as well. We often try to include an action RPG in our lists for our Diablo fans, and it's very rare to get one of these that actually supports offline play. Speaking of which, a few hours ago, or in fact a day ago, we came across this bad boy, fantasy RPG Raid Legends, with only 100 downloads. This game is actually a semi-open world dungeon crawling action RPG. You have the fancy of choosing over 4 different classes and fight alongside a team of heroes, online or offline. It's a free game, about 150 megabytes in total and several boss fights. It might not seem like much, but believe it or not, guys, this has to be one of the most thrilling games we've played for the past 30 days, and I don't know how we've never tried the game before. I mean, Mr. Hobbs at Playhouse is a series of suspense, survival, and platform horror games that have been around for almost 4 years. I just figured this out. The game's third entry I just tried was a blast, which actually came out last year, and well, they have been received so well, developers decided to make a HD version of them. It's the first game in the series that's now free, no more than 100 megabytes in total, and plays offline as well. Moving on to number 20, we have a new mystery game, Mystery Detective Adventure. This is coming from the same developers of Lost Island games. There's like 10 of them, and New York Mysteries, there's 5 of them too. Basically over 50 games, so to speak, that go with the same formula. This is another offline hidden object detective game with new characters, puzzles, and lots of new mini-games. It's available on both the Google and the App Store, optimized for tablets too, and the whole thing's roughly a whole gigabyte in size. Either way, it's an offline game and it's free. Play it. So, after 3 years and over 10 million downloads on his first game, the same developers finally decided to bring Scoob Darkness to mobiles. Technically Android, the iOS version is still in the making. This time, Scoob Darkness 2 will not only let you run into the dark, but there's various different actions such as parkour. There's 2 separate modes, new enemies, obstacles, and I gotta say it's actually as smooth as the first game, if not even better. It plays entirely offline and is a free game too, why not? And last but not least, we have Substep Storm, which I think I've mentioned maybe once last week. It's a Subway Surf style running game rated a 5 out of 5 and downloaded almost 10,000 times since then. We highly recommend you give this one a shot. It's no more than 150 megabytes in size, playable both online and offline on Android only. There's a few different modes for you to play. It's pretty fun to play in pace. You get different types of obstacles to deal with, and it has adjustable graphics, which actually look really good by default. It's a free game, about 200 megabytes in total. Thanks for watching.